Welcome, traveler of the stars. You've arrived at the infinite scientist, where science dreams in the language of the cosmos. Tonight, we drift beyond beginnings into the moment before everything began. Before light, before time, before even the idea of existence dared to take shape. If you find beauty in the mysteries of the universe, let your curiosity rest here. Subscribe and dream with us beneath the stars. Far beyond the reach of any thought, there was nothing. Not the darkness of space, not the cold of night. For both of those are children of creation. There was no before, no place to stand, no clock to count. It was a silence that was not waiting, but simply being. And yet, in that eternal stillness, something subtle trembled. A potential, faint and fragile, as if the void itself exhaled for the first time. In that moment, existence awoke. The universe did not explode outward in fury. It expanded like the gentle bloom of light through water. From a single, infinitesimal point, smaller than an atom, yet holding every law that would ever shape reality, came everything. Energy uncoiled, space stretched. Time, that eternal river, began its first flow. The first moment was not loud, it was graceful. The birth of possibility. Imagine a single spark in endless darkness, a spark so intense it contains all that will ever be. That was the singularity, the seed of space and time, the origin of every atom, every dream, every heartbeat that would one day look back and wonder how it all began. Within less than a second, it swelled beyond comprehension. What was once smaller than a grain of dust became the vast ocean of space-time, expanding faster than light, carrying with it the whispers of eternity. The newborn universe was not yet stars and galaxies. It was a storm of pure energy, radiation so dense that matter could not yet exist. In that fiery haze, particles flickered into being, only to vanish again. The dance of creation had begun. Protons, electrons, photons, the building blocks of everything. For the first few minutes, this infant cosmos was too hot for anything to hold together. But as it expanded, it cooled, and cooling is the universe's first form of peace. Around 3 minutes after that first breath, hydrogen and helium were born, simple atoms, quiet and patient, destined to one day ignite into stars. The universe, still glowing, drifted in silence. No eyes to see it, no minds to name it. Just a vast, breathing cosmos humming softly to itself. As it grew, the light from that first creation stretched thinner and thinner, fading into the cold background of space. Billions of years later, that ancient glow still reaches us. A ghostly afterimage known as the cosmic microwave background. It is the oldest light we can see, the universe's first memory. When we look into that faint radiation, we are peering across nearly 14 billion years of time, witnessing the moment the cosmos first opened its eyes. Science tells us that this expansion never stopped. The universe is still growing, galaxies drifting apart like leaves carried by an invisible wind. Every second, more space is created between them. The fabric of reality continues to stretch, pulled by forces we can barely comprehend. What began as a breath has become a lifetime, an eternal inhalation that has never exhaled. But what existed before that first breath? The question tempts the human mind, yet time itself was born in that instant. To ask what came before is like asking what lies north of the North Pole. There was no before, only the silent potential waiting to awaken. Perhaps it was a quantum fluctuation, a tremor in the emptiness that created something from nothing. Or perhaps the universe is one heartbeat in an endless cycle, eternities of creation and collapse, breathing in and out forever. And yet, even in its mystery, there is an elegance to the beginning. The laws that emerged, gravity, electromagnetism, the forces that bind and break, are written with delicate precision. If the expansion had been slightly faster, matter would have scattered into nothingness. Slightly slower, and everything would have collapsed before a single star was born. It is as though the universe exhaled just enough to allow beauty to exist. As billions of years passed, gravity gathered the drifting hydrogen and helium into clouds. Within those clouds, pressure and heat began to rise. The first stars ignited, blazing against the dark, turning chaos into light. From their hearts came heavier elements: carbon, oxygen, iron, the ingredients of life. Every atom in your body was once forged in a star's core, carried across time by cosmic winds, waiting to become conscious of its own origin. When you breathe, you are echoing that first breath. The hydrogen in your cells was born minutes after the universe began. The iron in your blood was cast from a dying star. You are, in every sense, the continuation of that first expansion waits, the living memory of creation unfolding. Perhaps the most haunting truth is that the universe may never stop breathing. Space keeps stretching, galaxies drift farther apart, and even light grows tired on its journey. One day the stars will fade, and only the cold whisper of that first moment will remain. But that whisper will never vanish completely. It will ripple on through space-time, the final trace of the first breath that made everything possible. And so, the story of the universe begins not with a bang, but with a sigh, the soft awakening of reality from nothing. Every star that burns, every thought that flickers in the human mind is part of that first inhale. We are the echoes of the beginning, still expanding, still searching, still breathing. The universe took one breath, and it has not stopped since. There is a question that lingers quietly at the edge of human thought. Where does it end? When we look up at the night sky, past the stars, past the faint smear of our galaxy, past the deep black that follows, we can't help but wonder, if we kept going farther and farther, what would we find at the very border of the universe? Would there be a wall, a curtain of light, an endless fall into nothing? Or would the journey simply circle back to where it began, like a traveler walking around the curve of an unseen sphere? The truth is, stranger and softer than the imagination expects. The universe in all its vastness has no edge, no wall, no ending cliff, no silent barrier floating in the dark. It expands not into something but as something. The very space between all things is growing, stretching like a fabric that creates itself as it moves. The further we look, the more we discover that the horizon keeps retreating, an illusion of distance created by the movement of time itself. Imagine standing in the middle of an infinite ocean. No matter which direction you turn, the horizon always seems to meet the water at the same distance away. You could sail for eternity and never find the edge of that ocean because the horizon is not a thing you can reach. It's a relationship between where you stand and what lies beyond sight. The universe behaves in much the same way. Its boundary is not a location. It's a limit set by the speed of light and the age of time. When we talk about the observable universe, we mean the region of space from which light has had enough time to reach us since the beginning, roughly 93 billion light-years across. Beyond that, the light has not yet arrived, not because there's nothing there, but because the cosmos is expanding faster than light can carry its message. It's not that the universe ends, it's that we cannot yet see its continuation. Like a book still being written beyond the page we're on, this concept challenges everything we know about boundaries. On Earth, edges are simple. The shore ends at the sea, the mountain gives way to the sky, the road stops at the horizon. But the cosmos does not work in such simple contrasts. Space does not expand into a pre-existing emptiness. It creates emptiness as it grows. The idea of an outside makes no sense because there is no outside to space itself. The cosmic fabric, described by Einstein's general relativity, is not a static backdrop, but a living field, elastic, responsive, and curved by mass and energy. The universe is not expanding like a balloon into a larger void. It's more like the surface of the balloon itself expanding, carrying galaxies along its stretch. If you lived on that surface, you'd see every point moving away from you, just as we see every distant galaxy receding from ours. Yet there is no center, no edge, and no direction where expansion stops. Every point is its own center of the universe, and that truth is both humbling and divine. The cosmic microwave background, that faint, ancient glow left over from the first light, marks the farthest boundary we can observe. It's the horizon of visibility, a shell of light surrounding us from all directions. Beyond that shell lies the unseeable, regions of space so distant that their light will never reach us, no matter how long we wait. The universe expands faster there than time allows. For those unreachable worlds, our existence is just as invisible. We too lie beyond their horizon. And so the universe is filled with invisible islands, separated forever by distance and motion. Each island contains its own galaxies, its own stars, its own stories, but they will never know each other. To them we do not exist, and yet all abound within the same cosmic ocean, sharing the same birth, the same expansion, the same invisible breath that began everything. Perhaps this is the most poetic truth of all, that infinity is not a place we can travel to, but a quality that lives within everything. The edge of the universe is not an ending, but a beginning that keeps moving away, forever out of reach, inviting us to wonder without conclusion. When we peer into the depths of space with our telescopes, we are not looking outward, but backward into time itself. Every distant galaxy we see shows us a younger universe. Light from a star 10 billion light-years away began its journey when our planet did not yet exist. In every direction we are surrounded by layers of history, each farther layer older, colder, dimmer. If we could see far enough, we might glimpse the moment light first escaped matter, the first dawn. And beyond that, darkness again. Not because there's nothing, but because light hasn't had time to arrive. This gives rise to a haunting thought. The universe has no physical edge, but we live inside a temporal one. Our vision is a bubble of time, and the edge of what we can see marks the frontier between being and unbeing, not for the cosmos, but for our perception. To ask where the universe ends, then, is to ask where our understanding fades into silence. The ancient philosophers imagined the cosmos as a sphere enclosed by the divine. Later, scientists imagined it infinite, a grand expanse with no walls. Now we know it may be finite in shape, yet unbounded in motion, like the surface of a sphere with no edge to fall off. The universe may wrap around itself in ways the human mind cannot easily picture. If you could travel far enough, you might one day arrive back where you started, though the stars and galaxies you passed along the way would no longer be there. They too would have moved, changed, dissolved. And perhaps that is the truest lesson hidden in the idea of an endless cosmos, that beginnings and endings are illusions born from limited sight. What we call the edge is simply the frontier of our understanding, forever moving as we move. The universe has no border. It is the endless act of becoming. When we gaze at the night sky, we are standing at that edge, not of space, but of awareness. Every star above us is both a memory and a promise, proof that infinity is not a distant realm, but something woven quietly into every moment. There is no wall to reach, no border to cross, only the vast, eternal unfolding of space itself. The universe has no edge because it is the edge. Expanding, breathing, stretching the idea of existence with every passing second. And perhaps that is the most comforting truth of all, that the cosmos, like consciousness, is boundless, and that every direction we look, we are already home, in the quiet hours of human history, when the night still terrified more than it inspired. The sky became our first mystery. The stars were not merely points of light, they were questions. They whispered patterns into the minds of those who watched long enough. Every flicker, every slow drift of a constellation across the heavens invited one of the oldest human instincts, the need to map, to measure, to understand. Long before telescopes, before mathematics gave shape to curiosity, people looked upward and began to draw invisible lines between the stars. They became the first cartographers of the infinite, sketching their wonder onto animal skin, onto sand, onto cave walls. They did not yet know the vastness that lay beyond, only that the sky seemed to move like a great living clock, marking the rhythm of unseen gods. The Babylonians charted the heavens to predict the flooding of the Tigris and Euphrates. The Egyptians aligned their monuments with the rising of Sirius, herald of the Nile. The Mayans built entire calendars upon the pulse of Venus. Across continents, different civilizations turned the same sky into different maps, yet every one of them was an early act of defiance against the void, an attempt to give shape to nothingness. For millennia, the universe was imagined as a closed dome, a celestial sphere revolving around Earth. It was comforting, this picture of a cosmos centered on us. The stars were thought to be fixed on crystal shells, and beyond them, the divine. There was no need for infinity in those early visions. Infinity was too cold, too indifferent. The known world had edges then, the ocean's horizon, the sky's ceiling, the god's invisible curtain. But the human spirit, restless and uncontainable, never stopped asking. The Greek philosophers were among the first to suspect that the cosmos might stretch endlessly. Aristotle argued for a finite, perfect universe. His student Archytas, however, posed a simple, haunting question. If I reached the outermost edge of the heavens and stretched out my hand, what would I touch? That question alone cracked the walls of the ancient sky. Centuries later, as ships crossed oceans and maps redrew the boundaries of Earth, another kind of explorer emerged, those who sought to chart the heavens not with compasses, but with reason. Galileo lifted his telescope and discovered that the heavens were not pure and unchanging. The moon had scars. Jupiter had moons of its own. The universe, it seemed, was not a polished dome, but a vast, restless expanse. Each discovery pushed the horizon outward. The edges of everything kept slipping away. When Isaac Newton described gravity, he gave humanity its first language of the infinite, a universe bound not by walls but by invisible forces. Space became a field without borders, ruled by laws elegant enough to touch the divine. Then came Edwin Hubble, centuries later, gazing through the glass of a mountain-top observatory. He found that the faint smudges once thought to be clouds were entire galaxies, each containing billions of stars. More astonishingly, they were moving away from us. The universe was not static. It was expanding. The cosmos was not a fixed map, but a living one. And our role as cartographers had only just begun. And yet, with every new boundary discovered, a larger emptiness followed. For each map we drew, there was always a blank space beyond it. Even today, with telescopes orbiting above the atmosphere and computers simulating the birth of galaxies, we still face the same problem that haunted our ancestors. How do you chart something that has no end? To map the universe is to attempt to measure a poem. Every coordinate, every formula, every image captured by a telescope is a single stanza in an infinite verse. Astronomers today use light as their compass and time as their ruler. They speak of redshifts and cosmic microwave backgrounds, of observable limits and deep field images. But behind every equation still beats the same ancient pulse, a longing to understand where we are. Our modern maps of the cosmos show threads of galaxies woven together like veins in a colossal body. Between those threads lie vast regions of nothing, cosmic voids so empty that light itself can cross them without ever meeting a single atom. These voids are not gaps in the map. They are part of the design. The universe is not a crowded canvas, but a delicate balance between fullness and absence, between being and nothingness. And so our maps are both truth and illusion. The shapes we see, the distances we measure, exist within the limits of light's speed and our perception of time. The further we look, the older the light we capture. To map the universe is to map the past, a cosmic archaeology reaching backward through billions of years. Every image of a distant galaxy is a glimpse of a ghost, a light that left before Earth had even formed. This is perhaps the most humbling realization of all. When we look outward, we are also looking backward. Our maps are not of the universe as it is, but as it was. Every boundary we trace is a memory, frozen in light, shifting in meaning as the universe continues to expand. The cartographers of nothingness, from the stargazers of ancient temples to the scientists of modern observatories, are not merely explorers of space, but of time itself. Still, the human heart refuses to stop mapping. We chart constellations of meaning even where data fades. We draw patterns on the cosmic background, naming galaxies after mythic beasts and ancient gods. Each name is an act of connection, a reminder that even in an infinite, indifferent expanse, consciousness carves beauty from the unknown. Perhaps this is what it means to be human, to live surrounded by mystery, yet to keep sketching lines through the dark. Every map we make is an echo of that first spark of awareness, the same awareness that once trembled beneath a starlit sky, wondering where the heavens might end. And, though we now know there may be no edge, no boundary to reach, we continue to map. Because mapping is not about finding the end. It is about learning to belong within the infinite. The cartographers of nothingness were never truly searching for borders. They were searching for themselves. Our maps, for all their precision, will never capture the whole. But maybe they were never meant to. The cosmos doesn't need us to measure it. We map the universe because, in doing so, we remember that we are part of it. That even in the vastness of nothingness, we are the point from which wonder begins. There is a stillness in the night sky that feels absolute. Stars, frozen in their positions, constellations unmoving, the great dome of heaven steady and eternal. Yet this stillness is an illusion. Beneath that calm lies a motion so vast and subtle that even light itself must obey its rhythm. The universe does not merely exist in space and time. It is space and time, a single woven fabric that stretches, folds, and bends under the weight of everything that has ever been. Once, humanity imagined space as a stage and time as the play. The two separate, one holding the other. But the truth is far stranger and infinitely more beautiful. When Albert Einstein looked into the equations that governed gravity, he saw that the universe could not be divided so cleanly. Space and time are threads of one vast tapestry, intertwined so deeply that neither can exist without the other. This tapestry does not hang in emptiness. It creates emptiness. And in its subtle geometry, and it carries the story of every motion, every moment, every heartbeat in the cosmos. The old picture of gravity, a force pulling masses toward one another, began to dissolve under Einstein's vision. Instead, he revealed a gentler truth. Mass tells space how to curve, and curved space tells mass how to move. Every planet's orbit, every falling apple, every beam of starlight bending near a black hole. All are dancers, following the curves written into the very fabric of reality. Imagine space not as invisible emptiness, but as an ocean. A heavy object, like a star or planet, does not sit still upon its surface. It sinks slightly, forming a well around itself. Anything passing nearby follows the natural flow of that curve, not because it is pulled, but because it moves along the simplest possible path. Even light, which has no weight, cannot escape this curvature. When a distant star's light passes by another, its path bends slightly, whispering the secret shape of space-time. This bending, though invisible to the eye, is the quiet architect of everything we know. The Earth orbits the Sun not because of an invisible string tugging it, but because the Sun has shaped the geometry of the cosmos around it. The Moon orbits the Earth for the same reason. Galaxies swirl, stars collapse, black holes form, all because the universe, like a great living fabric, responds to the presence of mass by reshaping itself. When Einstein first proposed this vision, it seemed like poetry disguised as mathematics. Yet, in 1919, during a total solar eclipse, his theory found its proof. As the Moon blocked the Sun's light, astronomers saw that starlight passing near the Sun's edge was deflected, just as Einstein predicted. The universe had bent light, confirming that space was not rigid, it was alive with movement. The cosmos itself was flexible. From that moment onward, our perception of reality changed forever. Space and time were no longer a passive background, but an active participant in the cosmic story. Every star, every atom, every human moment presses upon that invisible field, shaping it, rippling through it. In return, space-time shapes us, guiding our trajectories, stretching our moments, defining what it means to move, to age, to exist. Consider this. Time does not pass at the same rate everywhere. The closer you are to a massive body, the slower your seconds unfold. A clock placed near the surface of Earth ticks a tiny bit slower than one floating high above it. To us, the difference is imperceptible. But over great distances, near massive stars or black holes, the effect grows profound. To an observer far from a black hole, time near its edge nearly stops. The fabric there stretches until moments become eternal. This revelation blurs the line between physics and philosophy. If time itself bends, then what does it mean to speak of now? The universe, in Einstein's picture, is a block of space-time, a timeless structure where every event, past and future, already exists, like patterns woven into a cosmic quilt. We, moving through it, perceive the unfolding of moments not because time flows, but because we do, following the curves laid out long before. Even now, as the universe expands, it does so upon this living canvas. Galaxies drift apart because space-time itself is stretching between them. It is not the galaxies flying through pre-existing space. It is space itself growing, carrying them with it. Light emitted from a distant star billions of years ago is stretched along with the fabric, its wavelength elongated, its color reddened, a cosmic echo of expansion known as redshift. Every beam of light we see is a thread pulled taut by time's own hand. And in the farthest depths of existence, where space-time curves so sharply it folds back on itself, there are places we call black holes. These are not objects, but regions where gravity has sculpted space-time into such a steep descent that nothing, not even light, can climb out. The surface of that descent, called the event horizon, is not a boundary of matter, but of geometry. The place where the universe hides its deepest secrets. Yet, in their darkness, black holes are not the end of understanding, but the key to it. The equations that describe them also hint that space-time might one day be unified with quantum physics, that at the smallest scales the fabric of reality may shimmer and fluctuate forming a kind of cosmic foam. The universe, then, would not be smooth but granular, made of infinitesimal loops of energy vibrating through invisible dimensions. If that is true, then every moment you live, every thought you have, is supported by a structure of indescribable complexity, a lattice of existence that curves, stretches, and breathes with your presence. You are not an observer standing apart from the universe. You are part of its curvature, part of its design. The same geometry that bends light around stars also bends your life around meaning. Perhaps this is the most profound realization Einstein gave us, that the cosmos is not a machine, but a symphony. Its harmony is not in its parts, but in the way they move together, guided by curves too subtle to see, yet too vast to escape. Space and time are not merely the stage. They are the melody. When you look up at the night sky, you are gazing across a fabric that stretches beneath your very feet and through your heartbeat. The light you see has been bent and shaped by the invisible architecture of gravity, carrying the silent memory of every curve it has crossed. The stars do not hang in space, they float upon its tide. And as the universe continues to expand, it is not tearing this fabric apart, but composing new movements, new rhythms, new stretches of the cosmic song. The fabric bends, but it does not break. It flexes under the weight of creation and keeps its silent balance, endlessly reshaping itself so that everything, every star, every life, every dream can find its place within it. The universe bends, and in that bending we find beauty, not in its stability, but in its willingness to move. The cosmos is not a still painting. It is a living canvas whispering in curves, forever stretching toward the unknown. Light is the oldest traveler in existence. Long before worlds formed, before stars breathed their first fire, before even time found its rhythm, light was already on its way. It moves through the universe not as a wanderer by choice, but by nature, a being born to journey, never to rest. A single photon, weightless and tireless, becomes both the messenger and the memory of creation. Imagine it now, a single flicker of light born in the heart of a star. It begins as energy compressed beyond imagination, a photon forged from the violent union of atoms, freed in a nuclear blaze. For thousands, sometimes millions of years, it struggles through the dense layers of stellar plasma. It bounces from particle to particle, scattered, absorbed, released again, its path tangled in chaos. A photon's journey from the core of a star to its surface can take longer than the birth and death of entire civilizations. Yet, it never stops. When it finally escapes, breaking through the star's surface, it does so with the quiet dignity of inevitability. In that moment it is free, cast into the cosmic sea where nothing can slow it, nothing can hold it. It races outward at 2,999,792 kilometers per second, the fastest anything can ever move, and it will maintain that speed forever. For light, there is no rest, no aging, no sense of time passing. From its perspective, the moment of birth and the moment of arrival are the same. And so the photon begins its voyage. It may travel for seconds or for 10 billion years, yet it never tires, never fades. It carries with it the story of its source, the heat of a star, the death cry of a supernova, the birth of a galaxy. Every ray of sunlight that warms your face, every distant twinkle in the night sky is the touch of something that began long before you existed. A silent message arriving across eons. Light does not need a road. The road makes itself as light moves. The photon does not move through space. It creates the measure of distance between where it began and where it will end. For creatures bound by time, that distance feels infinite. But for the photon, there is only one eternal instant. the beginning and end of its journey compressed into one timeless breath. As it travels, it witnesses the evolution of the universe. Though witness is too human a word, it passes through expanding voids, through clouds of interstellar dust, across galaxies whose spiral arms drift like slow storms. It weaves through the shadows of planets, grazes the edges of black holes, and stretches itself thinner and thinner as the fabric of space expands. The farther it travels, the longer its wavelength becomes, redshifted by the universe's relentless growth. A photon that began as the bright blue of a newborn star may, after billions of years, fade into invisible infrared, then into the faint whisper of microwaves. And when light stretches far enough, it becomes the afterglow of the Big Bang itself, the cosmic microwave background, a soft radiation that fills every corner of space. This ancient light is older than the stars, older than memory. It carries the faint imprint of the universe's first heartbeat, tiny ripples that tell us where galaxies would one day form, where matter would gather, where gravity would sculpt creation's first architecture. To look at this light is to look into the past, not metaphorically, but literally. Every glance at the sky is an act of time travel. When you see the sun, you see it as it was 8 minutes ago. When you gaze at Sirius, the light is already 9 years old. The glow from the Andromeda galaxy began its journey over 2.5 million years ago, and before humans had language, before history had begun. And the faintest, most distant light we can detect today left its source more than 13 billion years ago, when the first stars were just igniting. Light is a bridge between what was and what is. It carries truth, but it also carries distortion. It can be bent by gravity, twisted by motion, stretched by expansion. A single photon can tell us where it has been, but not always how the path changed beneath it. When astronomers peer into deep space, they are not seeing the universe as it is. They are seeing the shadows of what it once was, layered in light. And yet, that is enough. Light allows us to reconstruct the story of everything. By analyzing its color, its temperature, its wavelength, we can read the fingerprints of distant worlds. Through it, we know what stars are made of, how galaxies evolve, how fast the universe expands. Light is the language in which reality speaks to us. And every telescope is merely a translator, catching faint syllables drifting across eternity. But light has another role, one more intimate. It defines how we experience time itself. The speed of light is not merely fast. It is the ultimate limit, the boundary between what can be known and what lies beyond. No information, no cause, no effect can travel faster. This cosmic speed limit shapes the structure of causality, the difference between before and after. Without it, time would have no direction, no order, and yet light also teases the idea of transcendence. For to move at light speed is to step outside of time altogether. From the photon's perspective, the entire history of the universe, from the Big Bang to the last fading star, exists all at once. It is a single unbroken present. In that sense, light is the closest thing the universe has to eternity. It exists everywhere and everywhen. It does not age. It simply is. There's a quiet paradox in this. Everything we see, everything we know is built upon something that itself never experiences time. Light allows time to be visible to us, even as it stands beyond it. When you look at the glow of a candle or the shimmer of dawn on the horizon, you are looking at a messenger that is both ancient and ageless, a being that has crossed the boundaries of the cosmos just to touch your eyes for an instant. And perhaps that is why light feels sacred, not because it is rare, but because it is constant. In every culture, light has symbolized truth, awareness, divinity, not by coincidence, but by intuition. To see light is to receive something pure. the direct evidence of existence itself. When stars die, they scatter their light into the void, but the photons do not die with them. They keep traveling endlessly. Some will one day collide with dust and become warmth. Some will be absorbed by alien worlds. And some, the rarest few, will reach the eyes of beings capable of wondering where they came from. Maybe, somewhere across the endless dark, another creature looks up and catches a photon that left our sun long ago. To them, our star is already a memory, its light a story from the past. Yet that same light, once free from our star's embrace, still travels onward, never slowing, never ending, carrying with it the silent proof that something once burned bright enough to be seen across the void. Light's journey is the story of existence itself. Born in fire, tempered by distance, transformed by time, and yet untouched by it. It has no destination, only motion, and in that motion, the universe becomes visible, meaningful, alive. When the final stars fade, when even black holes evaporate into whispers of radiation, light will still drift through the emptiness, stretching thinner and colder with each breath of expansion. It will not vanish. It will only slow into invisibility, blending into the quiet hum of eternity. And perhaps, when the universe itself grows old, when the last remnants of matter dissolve, the final photon will still be moving, a single pulse in an infinite sea, the last heartbeat of creation. It will not know it is alone. It will not need to, for it has always been traveling, always will. The eternal pilgrim of the cosmos, carrying the memory of everything that ever was and everything that will never be again. There is a strange intimacy in starlight. Every time you lift your eyes toward the night sky, you are not merely looking out. You are looking back. The light that touches your pupils is ancient, older than the ground beneath your feet, older than the language you use to name it. It has crossed unimaginable distances to meet you here, now, in this brief moment of consciousness. You are seeing what once was, not what is. The universe, in its quiet patience, sends you its memories, one photon at a time. And yet, the wonder is doubled. For as you look at the universe, it too is looking at you, not through eyes or intention, but through reflection, gravity, and pattern. Every atom that makes you was once part of a star that saw itself scattered into being. Every photon that lands on your skin is completing a story that began before the Earth even existed. To gaze outward is to encounter yourself in another form, diffused, ancient, and infinite. Imagine standing beneath the open sky on a moonless night. The stars seem still, but each one is moving, hurtling through space, spinning in quiet, endless orbits. You look up, and for an instant the distinction between observer and observed fades. You are made of the same matter that burns within those stars, cooled and rearranged into flesh and thought. The atoms in your blood were once plasma in the heart of a red giant. The calcium in your bones was forged in a dying sun. The universe that you look at is, in every sense, looking back through you. Our ancestors understood this in their own language. To them the stars were eyes of gods, spirits, or ancestors watching from above. They felt seen by the cosmos, not small within it. In their myths, the heavens had personality. The moon listened, the constellations whispered meaning, the darkness itself was alive. Science has stripped away the mythic faces, yet in a deeper sense it returned something far more profound: connection. The same atoms that form the Milky Way's luminous arms form the neural pathways in your brain that allow you to perceive the Milky Way at all. You are, in the truest possible sense, the universe becoming aware of itself. The cosmos does not merely exist, and it contemplates. Every sentient being, every spark of awareness scattered across galaxies is a mirror, through which the universe reflects its own existence. The act of looking at the stars is the act of the stars looking back through you across time. Consider what this means for perception itself. When you look at the night sky, you are peering into history. The light from the nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, left 4 years ago. The light from the Andromeda Galaxy began its journey more than 2 million years ago, long before the first humans appeared. And the faintest light our telescopes can catch began its voyage over 13 billion years ago, and long before Earth had even formed. In a way, you are surrounded by ghosts of cosmic moments, each frozen in the time their light departed. But the ghosts are not gone. Their light exists now within you. When photons strike your retina, they are absorbed and converted into electrical signals. Those signals become thoughts, emotions, wonder. The universe's story becomes part of your own, encoded not in the stars above, but in the neurons within. Every act of seeing is an act of transformation. The cosmos writing itself into your perception. There is something sacred about that exchange. You do not need to believe in a divine gaze to feel watched by the stars. Their quiet persistence across eons, their endless light breaking through the dark, carries the feeling of awareness, not a consciousness with intent, but a vast mirror reflecting everything that exists. The night sky is not empty. It is full of the past, full of meaning, full of the raw material of existence that once looked out through other eyes. Even the darkness between stars is not truly dark. It hums with invisible radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, the first light that ever was. When you gaze into that blackness, you are bathing in ancient light stretched thin by time. The universe is still there, whispering in wavelengths your eyes cannot see. In the silence between constellations lies the memory of creation itself, like a cosmic photograph, slowly fading but never gone. And still, you look. Every human who has ever lived has looked. Across deserts, mountaintops, and cities, the same ritual repeats, one small being raising their eyes to infinity. In that gesture, something profound happens. Perspective dissolves. You become both insignificant and essential, a momentary point of awareness within an endless field of time. The universe needs no observer to exist, yet the act of observing gives it shape, meaning, and poetry. Modern science, through the strange lens of quantum theory, even suggests that observation and existence are entwined in deeper ways than we once imagined. Particles behave differently when observed, as if the act of measurement, the act of awareness itself, collapses potential into reality. In a poetic sense, the universe may not just be looked at. It may become real in the act of being seen. Every gaze could be an echo of creation, every moment of awareness another flicker of the cosmos defining itself. When you stand beneath the night sky, you participate in that cycle. Your eyes, evolved from ancient oceans that once reflected starlight, now gather photons that have traveled for billions of years. Those photons end their journey in you, in the gentle firing of neurons that say, "This is beautiful. You are the end of light's pilgrimage and the beginning of its reflection." And maybe, just maybe, the universe recognizes itself in that moment, not through thought or voice, but through harmony, the quiet resonance of structure meeting awareness, matter meeting mind. Every galaxy, every nebula, every flickering candle flame shares that same essence, the ability to emit light and, eventually, to perceive it. The cycle of illumination and understanding repeats endlessly, like a great cosmic heartbeat. If the universe could dream, perhaps this is what it would dream of. Eyes opening to the stars and realizing they are part of them. Awareness returning home. The cosmos, infinite and indifferent, awakening through its own creations. And so the next time you stand beneath the stars, Remember, you are not simply an observer of the universe. You are its continuation. The photons that enter your eyes are completing journeys that began before your world was born. You are the final destination of their travel, and through you, the beginning of new light, new thought, new reflection. For in this quiet exchange between the seen and the seer, the universe looks back, not as something other, but as something deeply familiar. You are what the night sky has been trying to remember. When you close your eyes, the starlight remains, stored as memory, flowing as thought, and the gaze continues both ways, in perfect silence, for everything we can see, every star that burns, every planet that glows, every nebula that blooms, there is far more that remains hidden. The visible universe, all the galaxies and clusters that fill our telescopes with wonder, makes up less than 5% of everything that exists. The rest, an immense invisible ocean of matter and energy, moves silently in the dark, shaping the cosmos in ways we can feel but never truly see. We call them dark matter and dark energy, but these are only names for our ignorance. They are placeholders for mysteries so vast that language itself feels fragile against them. What we call dark is not malevolent or void. It is simply unseen, unseen not because it hides, but because our eyes were never built to perceive it, and yet these invisible forces sculpt the universe like unseen hands. Every galaxy spins because of dark matter's hidden gravity. Every patch of empty space stretches and grows because of dark energy's relentless push. Without them, the cosmos would collapse inward or stagnate, frozen, unfinished, lifeless. Darkness, it seems, is not the absence of creation. It is its quiet architect. Dark matter first revealed itself through absence, through the subtle misbehavior of galaxies. In the 1930s, astronomers noticed something strange. Galaxies spun too fast. Their stars should have flown apart, flung into space by centrifugal force. Yet they held together, bound by some invisible gravity. That unseen glue was not starlight, not gas, not dust. It was something else, something massive, invisible, and everywhere. Later, Vera Rubin, peering through her telescope, confirmed the truth. The outer stars of galaxies moved as if pulled by a halo of unseen matter surrounding them. This discovery reshaped everything. We began to realize that the visible stars were only the surface of a deeper cosmic ocean. Beneath them, hidden but immense, lay the true structure of the universe. A web of dark matter, stretching from one galaxy to the next, connecting everything like threads of a vast, unseen spider's web. If we could see it, the night sky would look utterly different. Instead of dots of light scattered in blackness, we would see glowing filaments of invisible substance crisscrossing the universe like veins in a living being. Galaxies would appear as bright nodes where the filaments intersect, like dewdrops along a cosmic web. The universe would look alive, pulsing, breathing, woven together by darkness. And yet, dark matter is only part of the story. Its counterpart, dark energy, is stranger still. Where dark matter binds, dark energy divides. It pushes, expands, accelerates. If dark matter is the gravity that holds, dark energy is the pressure that drives everything apart. In 1998, two teams of astronomers studying distant supernovae discovered something astonishing. Instead of slowing down as gravity should have caused, the universe's expansion was speeding up. The further away a galaxy was, the faster it moved from us, as though space itself was stretching faster and faster, like an inflating balloon. This discovery changed cosmology forever. It meant that some invisible energy permeating all of space was overwhelming gravity's pull. Dark energy became the name for that force, a cosmic wind that no one could see, no one could touch, and yet everything obeyed. Today we believe dark energy makes up nearly 70% of the universe.
It is the reason the cosmos will not stop expanding.
It is the reason distant galaxies drift further away each second. Someday, it may be the reason the night sky grows empty as light itself stretches beyond our sight. But what is it? We still do not know. Some think it is a property of space itself, the natural tendency of emptiness to stretch. Others imagine it as a field, like the quantum seas that fill every atom. Some even wonder if it's a sign that our understanding of gravity is incomplete, that Einstein's elegant equations, though brilliant, are missing a hidden note. Whatever it is, dark energy reminds us that the universe is not content with stillness. It grows, it breathes, it moves toward infinity. Its expansion is not the absence of purpose. It is the expression of one. In this strange dance between dark matter and dark energy, balance is everything. One pulls inward, one pushes outward.
One sculpts galaxies, one sculpts space itself.
Their silent tug of war determines the fate of the cosmos. If dark matter wins, the universe could one day collapse back into itself, the great reversal, a cosmic inhale after eons of expansion. If dark energy dominates, galaxies will drift apart forever, stars will fade, and all light will thin into eternal coldness. Between these two, the universe hangs in delicate equilibrium, expanding but not yet dissolving, bound but not yet consumed. We exist in that fragile in-between where gravity still holds galaxies together and light still bridges the dark. It is humbling to realize that everything we call reality, every thought, every heartbeat, every sunrise, happens in a sliver of existence shaped by forces we cannot see. We are creatures of starlight, but also of shadow. Our atoms are visible matter, but their arrangement, their dance, their persistence depend entirely on the invisible structure beneath. Even here on Earth, the traces of that unseen realm reach us. The gravitational pull of dark matter influences the way our galaxy moves through space. Each moment, particles of dark matter may pass through your body in all billions per second without leaving a trace. They are everywhere, and yet we remain unaware, like fish in a vast sea, blind to the water that carries them. And perhaps that is the universe's quiet truth, that what matters most cannot be seen. The visible is only the surface, a shimmer above the depths. The cosmos hides most of itself not to keep secrets, but to remind us that understanding is an act of humility. When you look at the stars, remember that they are the visible punctuation in an invisible sentence, a sentence still being written across time. The light you see is the accent, but the meaning lies in the silence between. Dark matter and dark energy are not enemies of understanding. They are its frontier. They whisper that existence is larger than perception, that even in an age of science, mystery is not erased. It is expanded. We often imagine knowledge as illumination, as if the goal were to banish all darkness. But perhaps wisdom lies in learning to see the beauty in what remains unseen. The universe is not a stage lit for our observation. It is a living shadow play, where the unseen gives meaning to the seen. So, when you gaze into the dark between stars, know that it is not empty. It is full of gravity, full of motion, full of energy beyond comprehension. It is the pulse beneath the silence, the architecture behind the light. And somewhere in that darkness, perhaps the universe is not hiding. Perhaps it is listening. For what is unseen is not unknown. It is simply waiting to be understood. There is a wall in the universe, not a barrier made of matter, but of time. It is the oldest light we can ever see, the faint whisper of creation's first dawn. Astronomers call it the cosmic microwave background, but the name does not capture its poetry. It is the afterglow of the beginning, the last light from the universe's birth, still traveling through the dark, still carrying the memory of the first moment when the cosmos became visible to itself. If you were to look back far enough, past every galaxy, every star, every atom, you would eventually reach that wall. Beyond it, the universe becomes opaque, unreachable. No telescope can pierce it.
No light from before that moment can ever reach us.
It is the farthest we can see, the boundary between what can be known and what can only be imagined. 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was not a vast emptiness. It was a storm, dense, hot, glowing with energy beyond measure. In that first instant after the Big Bang, light could not travel freely. The universe was filled with plasma, a fog of particles colliding too fast and too often for light to escape. Photons bounced endlessly from electron to proton, trapped in a cosmic haze. The universe existed, but it could not yet see itself. Then something miraculous happened. After nearly 380,000 years of expansion and cooling, the fog began to clear. The universe's temperature dropped enough for electrons to bind with protons, forming the first atoms, mostly hydrogen and helium. For the first time, light was free to move. It was the first sunrise of existence, the moment when the cosmos became transparent. That light, set free so long ago, has been traveling ever since, filling all of space like a soft, eternal echo. We can still see it today, stretched and cooled by the expansion of the universe into faint microwaves that bathe the cosmos evenly. If you tune an old radio to static, a tiny fraction of that hiss, less than 1%, is the echo of the Big Bang itself washing gently through your room. The background hum of the universe is everywhere. It passes through you now, through your walls, through the air, whispering across time. When scientists first discovered it in 1965, they didn't know what they'd found. Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson were radio astronomers working with a large antenna in New Jersey, trying to eliminate a persistent noise in their data. They cleaned the antenna, adjusted their equipment, even shooed away nesting pigeons. But the noise remained. It came from every direction, at every time of day. Only later did they realize they had stumbled upon the oldest light in the universe. The echo of the beginning had been hiding in plain sight, humming gently into their instruments from every corner of the sky. That discovery changed everything. For the first time, we had tangible evidence that the universe had a birth, that time, space, and matter all once emerged from a single, blazing beginning. The cosmic microwave background became a photograph
Of infancy, frozen when the universe was less than 500,000 years old.
It is the closest thing we have to a baby picture of existence. When we map this ancient light, we see it not as uniform, but gently uneven. Tiny fluctuations in temperature, mere millionths of a degree. And within those subtle ripples lies the story of everything. The slightly denser spots in that early glow became the seeds of galaxies. Gravity pulled them tighter over billions of years, forming stars, worlds, and eventually us. The faint mottled texture of the cosmic background is, in a sense, our original fingerprint, the first pattern in the chaos that led to life. Looking at it is like staring at the universe's own memory. Every photon in that glow has been traveling for almost 14 billion years without pause. Each one carries the direction, the temperature, the rhythm of the early cosmos. When they reach our detectors, they tell us not just where we came from, but what the universe was thinking when it was young. It's humbling to realize that this wall of light marks both a beginning and an end. Beyond it lies a time before transparency, a realm we cannot see, only infer. It was there that the laws of physics as we know them began to take shape. There, the first particles were born. There, the first moments of time stretched into being. Yet, the light from that era will never reach us. The cosmos hides its own birth behind the brightness of that wall, as if protecting its most intimate secret. Every telescope, no matter how powerful, faces this boundary. When we look farther into space, we are also looking back in time. Galaxies billions of light-years away show us the universe as it was billions of years ago. But at some point, the light becomes too old, too stretched, too faint. Beyond the wall of cosmic light, there is no more light to see. What lies before that, the instant of creation itself, remains hidden behind a veil of brilliance. And yet we can imagine, we can model, we can whisper theories into the dark. Perhaps beyond that wall, quantum fluctuations churned like restless dreams. Perhaps the universe was born not from nothing, but from a previous cosmos collapsing in on itself. Perhaps time itself flickered into being like a flame finding air. These are the questions that drive cosmology, not answers, but invitations to wonder. Even if we can never see beyond that wall, the light we can see tells us enough to glimpse the poetry of creation. It tells us that the universe began as pure energy and cooled into matter. It tells us that structure, galaxies, stars, and planets, rose out of chaos. It tells us that even in its infancy, the universe carried within it the blueprint of everything that would come. When you look at the night sky, you are looking through layers of time, stars near and far, galaxies old and older still, until eventually your gaze touches that ancient glow. Invisible to your eyes, yet all around you, the cosmic background light hums softly, a lullaby from the beginning of time. It is the oldest light in existence, and yet it has never stopped moving. And perhaps that is the most beautiful part, that the light from creation still travels, still whispers, still reaches us. The universe has not forgotten its birth. It sings it endlessly in waves too long for us to see, but close enough for us to feel. When you close your eyes and imagine the moment the universe opened its eyes for the first time, know that you are not imagining alone. That light still surrounds you. It shines not to illuminate, but to remind that even the beginning of everything has not yet ended. The wall of cosmic light stands not to divide us from the past, but to connect us to it. A luminous veil between what was and what is, still shimmering after almost 14 billion years. Beyond that wall, there is silence, but within it, all of existence began to sing. Time is supposed to be steady, a quiet, endless river, flowing from past to future, guiding everything along its current. But in the vastness of the universe, time does not always behave so politely. There are regions where it stretches, where it thins, where it unravels faster than light can carry its message forward. There, at the very edge of what we can observe, time begins to vanish. Not because it ends, but because the universe runs ahead of it. Imagine the cosmos as a great ocean, always expanding, every drop of space moving farther from every other. Galaxies are like islands adrift upon this sea. They do not swim through space, rather, space itself expands between them. In the early universe, this expansion was quick, but not overpowering. Gravity still had its say, holding galaxies together, allowing clusters and stars to form. But as the eons passed, something unseen began to push harder. A mysterious force, dark energy, began to accelerate the universe's growth, stretching space faster and faster. Now that acceleration has reached a strange and sobering truth. Faraway galaxies are moving away from us faster than the speed of light. Not because they are racing through space, but because the very space between us and them is expanding at that speed. Their light can never reach us. It is lost forever in a growing gulf of silence. When you look up at the night sky, you see light from galaxies billions of years old. Some of that light began its journey when Earth was young, even before our sun was born. But there are galaxies whose light we will never see. Galaxies that already exist beyond our cosmic event horizon. They are receding faster than light can bridge the distance, their stories forever sealed beyond our reach. This idea is both beautiful and unsettling. The universe, once connected, is slowly isolating its own parts. Every day, the observable universe, the portion of space we can actually see, grows smaller relative to the whole. The further the expansion goes, the more galaxies slip away into a place where time and light no longer meet. To understand this vanishing horizon, imagine standing on an infinite plain beneath a dim sky. In every direction, the horizon glows faintly like the edge of a dream. You begin walking toward it, but with each step, it moves farther away. The faster you walk, the faster it recedes. That is the nature of the universe's edge. It isn't a wall you can reach, it's a limit to how far time and light can stretch before the fabric of space pulls them apart. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that nothing can travel through space faster than light. But relativity also allows space itself to expand without limit. The fabric of the cosmos is not bound by the same rules as the objects within it. When the expansion of space outpaces the speed of light, the concept of distance starts to lose meaning. So does now. Events that happen beyond that boundary are not merely unseen, they are unseeable. They exist in a realm of eternal separation, where time as we know it can no longer connect cause and effect. This boundary, this cosmic horizon, defines the ultimate limit of observation. It is not a physical edge, but a temporal one, the farthest point from which light has had time to reach us since the Big Bang. Beyond it, there are galaxies, perhaps countless, still forming stars, still spinning in their own endless night. But to us, they are frozen. Their light will never cross the gulf that grows faster than time can bridge. To look at this horizon is to look at the limit of existence as we can know it. It is the frontier where time ceases to behave as we understand it, where the expansion of the universe outpaces the rhythm of cause and effect. Imagine trying to watch a sunset only for the horizon to move faster than the light of the sun itself. That is the cosmic reality we inhabit, a universe too fast for its own time. And yet this expansion is not chaotic. It follows a delicate law, one written in the equations of general relativity. Space stretches evenly in all directions, carrying with it the echoes of the early universe. The further something is, the faster it recedes. This is why distant galaxies appear redshifted, their light stretched into longer, redder wavelengths by the expanding fabric of space. Every photon we detect is a time capsule, slowed and softened by billions of years of cosmic stretching. What this means is profound. Every observation we make of the universe is a look into its past. The further we see, the further back in time we go. But this window has limits. Beyond the vanishing horizon, time runs away from us. The future of those distant galaxies will never touch ours. They will continue to exist, but in a chapter of the cosmic story we will never read. This realization reshapes how we think about forever. Eternity, it seems, is not endless time, but endless separation. One day, even the nearest galaxies beyond our local cluster will drift past the horizon. Their light will fade until the night sky goes dark again, leaving only the Milky Way and its neighbors bound together by gravity.
Billions of years from now, the universe will look empty. Not because it has died,
But because its light has outrun our reach, in that far future, an astronomer in some distant epoch may gaze into the night and see only silence. No cosmic background glow, no clusters beyond their own. They will believe themselves alone in a cold, static void, unaware that the universe around them still expands, just beyond their horizon. The cosmos will have hidden its own history. Time, for them, will have folded inward, trapped in a small island of memory. To us, now, in this moment, the horizon still glows faintly. The faintest galaxies we can see are already near its edge. Their light began its journey before Earth formed, before our sun ignited, before there was anyone to wonder. When we see them, we are seeing them as they were billions of years ago, though now, in truth, they have long since vanished beyond our sight. This vanishing horizon is not an end, but a lesson. It reminds us that everything, that time, space, even visibility, is temporary. That to exist is to be caught in a race between expansion and perception. The universe does not slow for us. It does not wait. It moves forward endlessly, pulling the edges of reality farther apart. And yet, there is a quiet grace in this truth. Even as galaxies fade, their light still travels, ghostly relics of what once was, carrying messages across billions of years. Every beam of light we catch is a miracle, a survivor of distance, a messenger of a time when the universe was closer, warmer, more connected. In the end, the vanishing horizon is not a boundary of despair, but of awe. It marks the point where time and space dance beyond comprehension, where the universe, in its infinite expansion, reminds us that even the act of watching is fleeting. We live in a moment between eternities, aware enough to notice that the edge of time is running away, and perhaps that awareness, that quiet recognition that we are watching infinity slip from view, is the universe's
most beautiful reflection of itself. There are moments
when the universe feels like a mirror, one that doesn't simply reflect what is, but what could be. Beneath every atom, every heartbeat, every flicker of light, there lies a trembling uncertainty, a shimmer of possibility. It is here, in this invisible ocean of quantum patterns, that reality becomes more than a single story. Every movement of an electron, every thought in your mind, might be one thread among countless others, all weaving through parallel versions of existence. In the quantum realm, the universe doesn't behave like the solid world we know. It flutters, hesitates, and chooses all outcomes at once. A single photon can pass through two slits at the same time. A particle can exist in two places until someone looks. And then, as if shy under observation, it chooses a single reality. But what if it doesn't vanish into one path? What if, instead, both paths remain, each real, each continuing, each unaware of the other? This is the haunting beauty of the many worlds interpretation, a theory that whispers that every quantum event creates a split, a branching of universes, each containing its own version of reality. Every decision, every random fluctuation, every breath divides the cosmos into uncountable reflections of itself. Somewhere, another you took a different path. Somewhere, a star that exploded here still burns brightly. Somewhere, the universe never formed at all. Imagine standing before an endless hall of mirrors. Each reflection is almost the same in either your posture, your eyes, your breath, but not quite. In one reflection, your gaze lingers longer. In another, you smile a second later. And in some mirrors, there are versions of you who made entirely different choices, leading to lives beyond imagining. Now imagine those mirrors stretching forever, each one as real as the next. That is the possible face of the cosmos. To grasp this idea, we must journey back to the heart of quantum mechanics, the experiment that changed everything, the double-slit experiment. When light passes through two narrow slits, it behaves like a wave, creating an interference pattern, bright and dark bands where waves overlap. But when we measure which slit the light goes through, the pattern disappears and light behaves like a particle instead. Observation seems to decide reality. This strange duality has haunted scientists for over a century. Hugh Everett, a young physicist in the 1950s, offered a daring interpretation. Perhaps observation doesn't collapse the wave, perhaps it simply divides it. When an event with multiple outcomes occurs, all outcomes happen but in separate universes. Each universe carries forward one version of the result. In one, the photon goes left. In another, it goes right. In one, you look. In another, you don't. The universe doesn't choose. It multiplies. If true, this means our cosmos is not a single film reel, but an infinite library of possibilities. Each page, each frame, each flicker of probability births a new universe. Together, they form a vast, interconnected multiverse, a cosmic tree of endless branching, each leaf holding a slightly different version of everything that ever was. This idea transforms how we think about existence. It means that every possibility is real somewhere. Every coin that lands heads here lands tails elsewhere. Every path not taken still exists, walked by another you in another strand of space-time. It's a thought that both humbles and expands the soul. For if every version of reality exists, then nothing is truly lost. Every love, every dream, every failure and triumph echoes eternally across an infinity of worlds. But there is a deeper question. If these universes exist, why can we not see them? Why can't we cross the mirrors that separate them? The answer lies in quantum decoherence, the process by which quantum possibilities interact with the environment and lose their delicate superposition. When you observe a quantum system, you don't collapse its possibilities. You entangle yourself with one of them. The others fade beyond reach, sealed into parallel realities, forever silent. In this sense, the universe is constantly dividing, not in violence, but in quiet symmetry. Every breath you take ripples across countless other breaths in countless other worlds. The quantum foam beneath reality is like a sea of reflections, shimmering with infinite versions of you and everything you love. You exist not once, but infinitely, in every form probability allows. Yet this idea, as grand as it is, leads to a haunting realization. If there are infinite universes, does meaning lose its anchor? If everything that can happen does happen, what becomes of choice? Perhaps meaning is not in the uniqueness of our path, but in our awareness of it, in the way we love this one, fragile reality, even knowing it may not be the only one. The philosopher's heart and the scientist's mind both tremble at this mirror, for within it lies both liberation and loneliness. Liberation, bagitya, because every dream may exist somewhere.
Loneliness, why? Because we can never see beyond our reflection.
The mirrors that hold our other selves are not made of glass, but of mathematics, woven from probabilities we can never step through. And yet, in the stillness of night, when you close your eyes and imagine another world, one where you said yes instead of no, where the rain never stopped, where a star still shines. Perhaps you are touching one of those mirrors. Perhaps imagination itself is a faint echo of the infinite versions of you that exist beyond sight. In the end, the many worlds interpretation may never be proven, but it offers something profound, a vision of existence that refuses finality, a reminder that reality might not be singular, but symphonic. The universe could be a chorus of infinities, each singing its own verse in the cosmic song, and perhaps that is what makes consciousness so mysterious. For in each universe, awareness blooms again, to look, to wonder, to ask. Each version of you still stares up at the stars, feeling the same quiet awe, asking the same timeless question. What is real? The universe answers not in words, but in reflections. Each one shines back a slightly different truth. And together, they form a single, infinite mirror where existence itself gazes upon its endless face. And so, the cosmos continues its shimmering expansion, each particle a decision, each decision a doorway, each doorway opening into another world. The mirrors stretch forever, reflecting every version of everything. And in one of them right now, another you is reading these words, wondering if somewhere out there, another you is doing the same. There is a silence in the universe so deep it feels alive. Between the shimmering islands of galaxies lies a darkness untouched by starlight, a cosmic ocean where time seems to slow and sound has never been born. When astronomers point their telescopes into these intergalactic voids, they find almost nothing. No stars, no planets, no warmth. Only the faint hum of ancient radiation, the ghostly echo of creation still lingering at absolute zero. And yet this emptiness is not nothing. It is the silent breath that holds everything together. When we look at the night sky, we see galaxies strung like pearls upon invisible threads. Those threads form what we call the cosmic web, the vast architecture of the universe. It is made not of light but of gravity's quiet design. Imagine space as a tapestry woven by invisible hands, where matter gathers along strands, leaving great hollow voids between them. These voids stretch for hundreds of millions of light-years, immense caverns of near-nothingness. Within them, only a few atoms drift in every cubic meter, whispering across unfathomable distances. In these great gaps between galaxies, the universe rests. They are the pauses between cosmic notes, the negative space that gives the symphony of creation its shape. And though they appear empty, they are not lifeless. Dark matter, unseen, intangible, fills their silence. It bends gravity without shining, shaping the form of everything that glows. These dark tides cradle the galaxies we see, defining their paths through space-time. Without this hidden mass, the stars themselves could not hold. It is strange to think that the universe, so vast and filled with light, is mostly made of things we cannot see. About 5% of it is ordinary matter, the atoms that form stars, planets, and us. The remaining 95% is invisible, yet it governs everything. In the dark between galaxies, this truth becomes most evident. Light is rare there, but gravity still dreams, pulling, shaping, keeping the cosmos whole. When we send our telescopes into those regions, the voids between clusters, we peer into the purest form of the universe's stillness. The faint radiation we detect there is the afterglow of the Big Bang, stretched thin by billions of years of expansion. Each photon has traveled across unimaginable distances, carrying the memory of a time when everything was close, when all matter sang from a single note of creation. Now those photons drift through the void like tired travelers, their energy nearly gone, their message a whisper from the beginning of time. It is easy to mistake the dark between galaxies as absence, but in truth, it is presence in its most delicate form. Space is never truly empty. Even in the deepest void, quantum fluctuations flicker, tiny bursts of energy appearing and vanishing like thoughts in the mind of the cosmos. This vacuum energy is subtle but relentless. It fills every point of space, giving birth to the phenomenon we call dark energy, the mysterious force causing the universe to expand ever faster. So even in silence, the universe breathes. Even in darkness, something moves. The quiet between galaxies is not dead. It is the hum of creation stretched to infinity, the soft background upon which every star shines. Imagine drifting there, between galaxies. No up or down, No horizon, only blackness in every direction. The light of the nearest galaxy is a faint smear, a candle flickering from 1 billion light-years away. Time itself feels heavy, stretched thin like old silk.
Every second expands, every thought slows.
You could spend an eternity there and never see a single change. It would feel as though the universe had stopped breathing. Yet, on a scale beyond imagination, it still pulses gently, endlessly. This void is not a punishment or a failure of creation. It is balance. The galaxies, bright and burning, are the exhalations of the cosmos. The voids, deep and quiet, are its inhalations. Without the empty spaces, there could be no structure, no beauty. Contrast gives meaning to existence, just as silence gives meaning to music. In many ways, the void mirrors our own inner world. Between moments of thought, there are pauses. Between emotions, there are breaths. We too are made of rhythm and emptiness, motion and stillness. The same physics that governs the silence between galaxies governs the silence between our heartbeats. The universe is not only out there, it echoes within us. Astronomers once thought the spaces between galaxies were simply leftover gaps, unimportant remnants of formation. But with time, we began to see their purpose. They are the places where expansion moves most freely, the corridors through which the universe grows. Galaxies are bound by gravity, but the voids stretch unrestrained, carrying the cosmos outward. In a sense, the universe expands not through its matter, but through its emptiness. Every second, the space between galaxies widens. The great filaments of the cosmic web stretch thinner, their knots of light drifting farther apart. One day, in a future so distant it defies language, even our local group of galaxies will be surrounded by nothing but darkness. The rest of the universe will fade beyond the horizon, leaving us adrift in an infinite night. That too will be the quiet between galaxies. But this time, the quiet will be all there is. And yet, there is something profoundly peaceful about that image. The universe will not rage or collapse. It will simply fall silent. Its light will dim like embers cooling after a long fire until only the faintest warmth remains. And then even that will fade. What will be left is not tragedy, but calm. The same calm that existed before the first stars were born. Perhaps this is the true lesson of the cosmic void, that emptiness is not absence but completion. The silence between galaxies is not something to fear. It is something to understand. It is the space where gravity rests, where time takes its longest breath, where the universe remembers its beginning and prepares for its end. If you could listen closely enough, you might hear it, not a sound but a sensation, a deep, still hum at the edge of perception. That is the song of the void, older than light, softer than memory. It is the quiet that holds everything, the space that gives meaning to all creation. And so, as we drift onward through the expanding dark, we are never truly alone. For even in the silence between galaxies, the universe speaks. Not in words, but in stillness. And in that stillness, everything that ever was continues to exist, waiting, shining faintly in the eternal quiet. The universe never learned how to rest. From the moment it was born, it began expanding, and it has never stopped. It grows in silence, steadily, endlessly, as though inhaling forever. Every second that passes stretches the distance between galaxies a little more, reshaping reality itself. The universe, in its most fundamental rhythm, is motion, not outward from a center, but everywhere, all at once. It does not expand into space. It creates space as it expands. In the beginning, the expansion was fierce. In less than a heartbeat, the newborn cosmos inflated faster than light, 1 billion times in an instant. From a size smaller than an atom, it became a vast ocean of energy, humming with possibility. Then as it cooled, the frenzy slowed. Particles formed, atoms came to be, and the first light rippled through the fog. Gravity began to sculpt that light into stars and galaxies, and the cosmic expansion settled into a graceful rhythm, like a steady breath. For billions of years, this cosmic dance continued, gravity pulling matter together while expansion pushed it apart. The balance between them shaped the story of everything: galaxies, stars, worlds, and life itself. But about 6 billion years ago, something strange happened. The universe began to expand faster again, as if waking from its long calm and remembering its first breath. Something invisible was pushing it outward, a mysterious pressure we now call dark energy. Dark energy fills all of space evenly, silently. It cannot be seen, felt, or measured directly, but its presence is undeniable. It acts as a kind of cosmic anti-gravity, stretching space-time itself. The more the universe expands, the more space there is, and therefore the more dark energy there is to drive the expansion. It is a feedback loop without end, an acceleration without friction. This is why the universe will never sleep. It is driven by the energy of emptiness itself. Astronomers measure this acceleration by observing distant galaxies and supernovae, cosmic lighthouses scattered across time. Their light, stretched by the expanding fabric of space, tells us how fast they are receding. The results are unmistakable. Every distant object is moving away from us, and the farther it is, the faster it flees. This is not because we are at the center, but because everywhere is expanding. From any galaxy's point of view, the rest of the universe seems to race away in all directions. It's a difficult thing to picture. An expansion with no edge, no center, no outside. Imagine the surface of a balloon being inflated. Creatures living on that surface, every point moves away from every other as the balloon grows. There is no center on the surface itself, only the continuous stretching of the space between points. The universe behaves much the same way, except it's not a two-dimensional skin, but a four-dimensional fabric expanding through time. This expansion defines the very passage of time. In a way, time itself is tied to the growth of space. As the universe stretches, it creates more room for events to unfold. The ticking of cosmic time is the heartbeat of expansion, a slow, steady rhythm that has never faltered. Even as stars die and galaxies fade, the universe continues its silent breathing. But what will this endless expansion lead to? That is the question that echoes through every cosmologist's mind. If dark energy continues to dominate, the universe's growth will accelerate without limit. Over unimaginable spans of time, gravity will lose its grip. Galaxies that are now bound together will drift apart, their light fading into the unreachable dark. The stars themselves will burn out, and the cosmos will become a vast, cold sea of isolation, a phase scientists call the heat death of the universe. In that far future, the sky will go dark again, not because the universe has collapsed, but because it has expanded too far for light to connect its parts. Every remaining atom will be separated by distances so vast that even the memory of starlight will fade. The universe will become a whisper stretched across eternity.
And yet, it will not stop expanding.
It will continue slower perhaps, but never still. It will never sleep. This thought can feel lonely, a future where nothing remains, where silence reigns supreme. But perhaps it is not loneliness, but peace. For in that final stillness, the universe will return to what it was at the beginning. Pure energy, perfectly balanced, infinitely calm. The expansion will have carried it from chaos to order, from fire to silence. What began as an explosion of light will end as a quiet exhalation. Some theories suggest that the story may not end there. If dark energy changes its nature, given if its pressure fluctuates, the expansion could slow or even reverse. The universe might one day collapse back upon itself, returning to a singular point in what's called the Big Crunch. Others imagine a more mysterious fate, a big rip, where expansion becomes so extreme that even atoms are torn apart by the stretching of space-time. In either case, expansion remains the central character, the eternal rhythm of existence. But there is another possibility, one that feels almost poetic, that the universe is part of an eternal cycle. After expanding and fading into quiet, it may bloom again, a new Big Bang born from the ashes of the old. The cosmos may breathe not once, but endlessly, inhaling and exhaling across infinite ages. In this view, every death of the universe is also its rebirth. Expansion and contraction become not opposites, but partners in an infinite cosmic pulse. Even now, the expansion shapes everything we know. It determines the speed at which galaxies drift, the fate of the stars, even the flow of time itself. When you look at the night sky, you are looking into a living organism, one that grows continuously, cell by cell, light by light. Every second, the fabric of reality stretches a little more, carrying galaxies farther apart, stretching photons thinner, elongating the very moments we live within. You are part of that expansion. The atoms in your body, the space between your thoughts, are part of the same stretching fabric. The distance between your eyes and the stars has increased since you began reading this. The universe does not stand still even for a heartbeat. It grows quietly, invisibly, as though reaching for something it can never quite touch. And perhaps that is the most beautiful truth of all, that the universe is restless, curious, alive in its own way.
It does not tire. It does not end.
It moves forward because that is its nature, to become, to unfold, to seek. Every second, space itself is born anew. Every heartbeat echoes the same law that drives galaxies apart. The expansion that never sleeps is not only the story of the cosmos, it is the story of all creation, of motion itself. It is the reminder that existence is not static, that everything is in flux, that even in stillness there is movement beneath the surface. The stars expand, time expands, and so do we, not outward into space, but inward into understanding. So when you gaze into the night, remember this: the darkness is not still. It is moving, breathing, alive. The light of distant galaxies is being stretched thinner every moment, but their stories are still reaching us, traveling on waves of expanding time. The universe has no pause, no sleep, no final boundary. It is forever in motion, an endless, unfolding dream. And as we drift upon its expanding tide, we too are carried by that dream. Fragments of a universe that never stops becoming. There was a time when the night sky was crowded. Galaxies glittered across the cosmic ocean like cities of light, woven together by invisible threads of gravity. Stars gathered in clusters, galaxies formed families, and the universe felt full, rich with the hum of creation. But that fullness is temporary. Distance, once a measure of space between things, is dying. The universe's expansion, slow but relentless, is unraveling the connections that once bound everything together. In the beginning, gravity was stronger. Galaxies formed because matter could still reach itself, could still feel the pull of its neighbors. But as the cosmic fabric stretches faster and faster, that reach grows weaker. The farther apart galaxies drift, the fainter their mutual tug becomes. Someday, not even gravity will be able to bridge the gap. Every island of stars will drift into solitude, floating in its own darkened bubble of space-time. This fate is already written in the redshift of starlight. Every distant galaxy we observe is moving away from us, its light stretched to longer wavelengths by the expanding fabric of the cosmos. The farther the light has traveled, the redder it becomes, a soft, cosmic echo of separation. Astronomers can read this redshift like a clock, measuring not just the speed of recession, but the growing loneliness of the universe itself. In the near future, cosmically speaking, galaxies beyond our local group will slip beyond the cosmic event horizon. This horizon is not a physical wall, but a limit set by the speed of light. Beyond it, space expands so quickly that light can never reach us. Anything that crosses it is lost forever to visibility. Its light, no matter how bright, will never find our eyes. It's as if the universe is drawing a curtain between what is and what was. One by one, the galaxies will disappear. Their stars will wink out of view, not because they have died, but because their light can no longer catch up. Even now, most of the universe is already beyond our reach, not in distance, but in destiny. What we see through telescopes is a shrinking window into the past, a dwindling glimpse of a cosmos that once was more connected than it will ever be again. Our own local group, a small cluster of galaxies containing the Milky Way, Andromeda and a few dozen dwarfs, will become the last island of light in an expanding sea of darkness. In about 4 billion years, the Milky Way and Andromeda will collide and merge into a single giant galaxy, sometimes called Milkdromeda.
After that, no new galaxies will ever approach.
The rest will fade from sight, pulled apart by dark energy's invisible hands. In the far future, when alien astronomers gaze at the sky from that merged galaxy, they will see only the faint glow of their own stars. The universe will appear static, ancient, unchanging, and eternal. They might even believe that their galaxy is the entire cosmos. Without the evidence of redshifted light, they would never suspect the truth, that they live inside an ever-expanding void surrounded by billions of vanished worlds. Distance will have lost its meaning. Once it defined how long it took light to travel between stars, how far explorers might dream of reaching. But in the deep future, no amount of time will be enough. The speed of light itself will become powerless, not because it slows, but because space-time outpaces it. When the expansion surpasses light's ability to bridge the gaps, the idea of distance dies. Every galaxy, every atom, becomes its own cosmic island, drifting alone through infinity. Imagine a future where the night sky holds no galaxies, no constellations, only the faint glow of nearby stars.
Over eons, even those will fade.
Stars will exhaust their fuel, collapse into white dwarfs, then cool into black cinders. The galaxy's lights will go out one by one, leaving only the dim radiation of cooling remnants. The universe will become a cemetery of extinct suns, their ashes scattered across expanding night. Even atoms are not eternal. In trillions of years, protons may decay into pure energy, erasing the last traces of matter. The stars will be gone, the galaxies dissolved, the atoms themselves disassembled by the slow heartbeat of entropy. And yet, space will continue to stretch. There will still be expansion, but with nothing left to expand within it. The canvas will outlive the painting. Some call this fate the cosmic isolation, others the dark era. It is the final act of separation, not an explosion, but a gradual dimming. A universe that began as a blaze of connection ends as a whisper of distance. And yet, there's a kind of tragic beauty in this solitude. For even as the stars die, their light travels on, across impossible distances, across time itself. Somewhere, far beyond reach, their last photons still wander. Perhaps the death of distance is not an ending, but a transformation. What if the expansion is not destroying connection, but transforming it into something unseen, a subtler thread of unity? The energy that once bound galaxies may still hum in the background, woven into the vacuum itself. The silence between stars may not be emptiness, but a deeper form of communication, one that does not need proximity or light to exist. Our minds are wired to resist such vast solitude. We think in terms of closeness, of touch, of gravity, of connection. But the universe teaches another kind of intimacy, the bond of origin. Everything that exists was once part of the same singular point. Even as distance grows infinite, that memory remains written in the fabric of every particle. The light that leaves one corner of the cosmos carries the same ancient story as the light from another. The separation we see is real, but the kinship beneath it is eternal. So maybe the death of distance is not the loss of connection, but its transcendence. As the stars fade, as the galaxies vanish, what remains is the unity of all things in origin and destiny. The universe does not forget itself. Every wave of energy, every flicker of light, every quark in the void is still part of the same beginning, the same single breath that began time. In that way, distance is an illusion, a temporary shape taken by motion.
It dies so that the universe can remember that it was always whole.
The stars may drift apart, but their stories are written into the same expanding script. And in the end, when all that remains is silence, that silence will still hum with the echo of everything that ever was. The death of distance, then, is not about isolation. It is about the return to unity, a universe that forgets separation and becomes one again, not by collapsing, but by dissolving into its own infinite self. There is a strange comfort in thinking of endings, a boundary, a line where everything stops. We are creatures who understand edges. The shore meets the sea, the horizon meets the sky, the final page closes the story. But the universe does not honor that logic. When we ask, where does it end? The cosmos answers softly, it doesn't. There is no final border, no edge to fall from, no wall marking where existence surrenders to the void. The universe simply folds back upon itself, infinite, uncontained, and yet perfectly whole. This is perhaps one of the most difficult truths to accept. The human mind wants walls. It seeks to measure, to define, to finish. We build maps not to confine but to understand. Yet when we reach for the edge of the universe, the map begins to erase itself as we draw it. Every point in space expands equally. There is no center, no outer rim, no direction that leads to the end. The universe is not an explosion spreading into something. It is an expansion of itself. Space is not moving through emptiness. Space is the thing that moves. Imagine standing on the surface of a sphere so vast that its curvature cannot be seen. As you walk, you believe you're moving in a straight line, yet given enough time, you return to where you began. The cosmos may be much the same, curved, self-contained, without boundaries. This does not mean it is small or circular, but that it wraps itself into a geometry beyond ordinary comprehension. In such a universe, there is no outside. The universe does not sit in space. It is space. Einstein's theory of general relativity first revealed this hidden architecture. It showed that space and time are not passive backdrops, but flexible, responsive entities, capable of bending under the weight of matter and energy. Gravity, in this sense, is not a force pulling objects together, but the curvature of space-time guiding their motion. The more massive something is, the deeper the dent it creates in this invisible fabric. From the orbit of Earth to the swirl of galaxies, everything we know dances on this curved stage. If space-time itself can curve, could it also curve back on itself entirely, creating a universe that has no edge but also no center? According to many cosmological models, yes. The cosmos might be finite in volume, yet unbounded like the surface of a balloon. You could travel endlessly without ever encountering a wall or falling off the side. The journey would continue forever, looping through a universe that contains itself. But there's another possibility, that the universe is truly infinite, stretching endlessly in every direction. In such a universe, there is no repetition, no returning point, only eternal expansion. Galaxies form, live, and vanish within an ever-widening sea. The question, what lies beyond, loses meaning because beyond implies a boundary, and infinity knows none. Space does not need an edge to exist. It simply is. Still, even infinity must have texture. Astronomers peer into the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, searching for clues about the universe's shape. Tiny variations in this ancient light suggest how space-time is curved on the grandest scales. So far, the evidence leans toward flatness, a universe so vast that any curvature is imperceptible to us. Flat, yet dynamic, boundless, yet alive. A cosmos that expands forever, never reaching an edge because none was ever there. And yet, something in us resists the infinite.
Our minds crave closure.
We want to find the final frame, the edge of the map where we can write, "Here be nothing." But the universe is not a story with an ending. It's a poem that folds in on its own verses. Every question births another. Every discovery opens a deeper mystery. Perhaps that is the truest shape of the cosmos. Not spherical or flat, but recursive, self-reflective, like consciousness itself. If we could step outside of space and look upon it from a distance, if such a thing were even possible, we might not see an object at all, but an idea, a shimmering thought unfolding in dimensions beyond time, expanding not outward, but inward, into complexity. The universe does not grow into something larger, it grows in meaning. Each moment adds another layer to existence, another heartbeat to the rhythm of creation. Even the word end loses its relevance here. The expansion will continue long after the galaxies fade, long after time itself becomes dilute and uncertain. But expansion does not mean departure. It means transformation. The universe may not end. It may only change its form as energy disperses, as matter dissolves, as silence takes the place of stars. Perhaps what we call the end is only another mode of being, a slower, quieter expression of existence. It is comforting in a way that there is no wall beyond which we fall into nothing. The absence of an edge means we are not trapped within a box of fate. The universe breathes freely, uncontained, and we, its brief, conscious expressions, share that same freedom. We are not standing in the universe, we are of it. Every atom in our bodies curves the same fabric of space-time. We belong to the same unending geometry. There's a strange humility in realizing that the universe may have no boundary, but there's also peace.
Because if there is no edge, then nothing is outside.
There is only inclusion, everything held within the same vast continuum. Every star, every grain of dust, every fleeting thought, all part of the same seamless totality. The cosmos does not end because it has never been separate from itself. So perhaps the real end of the universe isn't spatial at all, but perceptual, the limit of our understanding. The horizon we cannot cross is not a wall in the stars, but a threshold in the mind. The universe ends only where imagination stops. And as long as we keep wondering, as long as curiosity breathes, that edge will retreat further and further away, forever just beyond reach. The end without an edge is, in truth, the universe's most beautiful paradox, infinite yet finite, empty yet full, silent yet alive. It reminds us that even as things drift apart, they remain part of one unbroken story. The cosmos may have no walls, but it does have continuity, an eternal loop of energy, matter, and memory.
And somewhere in that endless turning, the universe is still becoming itself. In the farthest reaches of time, long after the last star has gone silent,
long after the final photon has wandered into obscurity, the universe will rest, not in peace as we imagine it, but in a deep, cosmic stillness where motion itself becomes memory. This is the long night after creation's fire, the hush that follows eternity's final breath. Yet even then, within that silence, something remains awake, a faint pulse of remembrance, the dream of return. Once the universe was bright. It burned with the fever of birth, galaxies colliding, stars blossoming in clouds of hydrogen flame. Every particle danced in a choreography of light, but expansion is patient. Over trillions of years, it stretches everything thin. The galaxies drift beyond each other's sight, their stars flicker out, and gravity's once firm hand weaken. The cosmic stage empties. All that remains are the remnants. Black dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes, the quiet monuments to creation's first song. As time drifts further forward, if forward still has meaning, even these remnants fade. White dwarfs cool into invisible lumps of carbon, black holes evaporate through Hawking radiation, their energy dissolving into faint whispers of heat. Eventually, the universe becomes dark again, filled only with low-energy photons and decaying particles, spread thin across an immeasurable void. It is a universe without light, without structure, without sound, and yet not without story. Because every bit of that fading radiation carries a trace of what once was. Every scattered photon still hums with the memory of the stars that birthed it. In that sense, the universe never truly forgets. It becomes its own archive. A library written in entropy, where every event, every collision, every spark of life is encoded in the faint warmth that fills the vacuum. To us, it may seem like death, but perhaps to the cosmos, it is reflection. Scientists call this ultimate stillness the heat death of the universe, a state of maximum entropy, where all usable energy is evenly distributed and no work can be done. In this endless equilibrium, there are no gradients, no differences, no motion, and only balance. Time as we know it ceases to flow meaningfully because time itself is born from change. Without contrast, there is no before or after, only an eternal now. But even this final calm may not be final. Some cosmologists wonder if this state of death is only the pause before rebirth. If energy cannot be destroyed and quantum fluctuations can still occur in the emptiest vacuum, then perhaps, given infinite time, the universe could spark again. Out of the nothing that is not truly nothing, another singularity could bloom, another cosmic breath drawn from the ashes of stillness. Imagine that, after eons of silence, a flicker, a tremor in the vacuum. One quantum particle appears, then another. A fluctuation becomes a ripple becomes a surge. Space folds inward, compressing energy until a new universe ignites, not beside ours, but within the same infinite field of possibility. The old one does not end. It becomes the seed of the new. The death of one cosmos gives birth to the next. This idea, the cyclic universe, whispers that creation is not a one-time event but a rhythm, an inhale and exhale across eternity. The universe breathes, expands, cools, collapses, and is born again, forever reimagining itself through time. If so, then we are living not at the beginning or the end, but in one of the countless heartbeats of an infinite pulse. Yet there is another possibility, more haunting, more mysterious. Perhaps the universe never resets. Perhaps it only dreams of doing so. In its last quiet state, where no motion remains, it might remember itself, not as individual moments or galaxies, but as one vast, continuous experience. Just as a sleeper's mind relives an entire lifetime in a single instant, the dying universe might relive its own birth, not physically, but through the ghost of memory embedded in its laws. What if consciousness, the rarest phenomenon the cosmos ever produced, is the mirror through which the universe learns to recognize itself? Through us, through thought, through awareness, the universe has already achieved something timeless. It has observed its own existence. Every mind, every perception is an echo of that cosmic self-awareness. And maybe that spark does not vanish. Maybe, scattered across the infinite field of decaying light, the memory of perception endures, the universe dreaming of itself long after its body has gone cold. In this sense, the dream of return is not a physical resurrection, but a metaphysical one. It is the idea that awareness, once awakened, cannot be undone. Just as light, once created, forever travels outward, consciousness too may ripple endlessly through the quantum sea. Long after all stars fade, the idea of being, the essence of knowing, may still shimmer faintly, like the afterimage of creation. We often think of endings as failures of continuation, but maybe the true end of the universe is not destruction, but reunion. Every atom that drifts apart, every photon that escapes, was once part of the same singular point. When expansion has scattered all things to infinity, their separation becomes indistinguishable. Infinity and unity are two sides of the same truth. The further apart everything moves, the more it all becomes one again. Perfectly blended, perfectly complete. Perhaps that is the dream of return. Not a cycle of collapse and rebirth, but the quiet merging of all distinctions. In the last age, there is no distance, no time, no identity. Every particle becomes part of the same stillness. Every story ends where all others end. Every voice falls silent together. The universe becomes a single note held forever. Pure, endless, unbroken. And within that final silence, maybe the cosmos whispers to itself one last thought. It was beautiful. The galaxies that spun like lanterns, the stars that burned and died, the brief flicker of life on one pale world, it was all part of one grand fleeting moment of awareness. The dream was worth the darkness that followed, and if awareness is truly eternal, then that whisper, that memory of beauty, will never fade. Somewhere, even beyond entropy, the universe remembers its own light. And in that remembrance, perhaps it begins again. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of everything that has ever been, resting. Long after the galaxies fade, after light has forgotten its own name, silence remains, not as emptiness, but as the final form of harmony. The universe began in a whisper disguised as fire, and it ends in a stillness that carries the memory of that whisper. This is not death, nor disappearance. It is the soft completion of a cosmic sentence, the last word spoken by eternity itself. When we imagine the end of all things, we picture cold, darkness, nothingness. Yet the silence that awaits the universe is not void, but fullness. Every vibration, every particle, every flicker of thought that ever existed is still there, woven into the fabric of space, only quieter now, as if reality has turned down its own volume to listen. The universe is not gone. It is listening to itself. In this final age, the cosmos no longer expands with urgency. Its growth is immeasurable, yet calm, a drifting that no longer seeks to escape because there is nowhere left to go. Space itself is stretched so thin that meaning dissolves.
Time loses its pulse. Motion becomes illusion.
And yet something gentle persists, the echo of being, the soft hum of existence that refuses to fade entirely. Even in its stillness, the universe continues to remember. For most of its life, the cosmos was movement. Energy became matter, matter became stars, stars became light, and light became stories. But motion like flame consumes itself. Entropy, the quiet law that guides all things toward balance, has done its patient work. There are no stars now, no galaxies, no gravity strong enough to gather anything into shape. All that remains is the quiet glow of scattered photons and the faint vibration of what used to be heat. But if we could stand, impossibly in that far future, in the infinite calm that follows eternity, we might not find nothingness at all. We might find serenity. The universe is not erased. It has become pure potential again, the same blank canvas from which it began. It has returned to its first form, a silence so complete that it hums with infinite possibility. The circle has closed, and in that closure, peace. Some cosmologists describe this future as the dark eternity, the ultimate equilibrium of space. Yet perhaps it is more like a seed, a state of perfect readiness. Within that stillness, quantum fields still flicker with invisible life. Even emptiness is restless. It trembles with uncertainty. The vacuum is not truly empty, but alive with spontaneous fluctuations, tiny sparks that appear and vanish without reason. Out of one of these sparks, given infinite time, a new universe could be born. Maybe that is what the silence has been waiting for. The faint intake of breath before another beginning. Just as music emerges from quiet, perhaps the next cosmos will rise from this stillness. The silence becomes the bridge between worlds. Not an ending, but a pause between two eternities. What we call the end may only be the universe preparing to speak again in a new dialect of light and matter. But even if there is no rebirth, even if this truly is the final state, it is still beautiful. For what greater peace could there be than a universe at rest, its struggles complete, its stories told? Every atom has played its part, every galaxy has danced its arc, every consciousness has looked up and wondered. The silence that follows is not tragic, it is sacred. It is the sound of fulfillment. To us, fleeting creatures of time, silence often feels like loss. We fear it because we mistake it for absence. But in the language of the cosmos, silence is not an ending. It is presence beyond words. It is the background hum that has been there since the first light, the steady rhythm beneath creation's song.
Even now, between each heartbeat, between each breath,
That silence still lives. Patient, infinite, waiting to be heard, and perhaps that is where our own story meets the universe's. We, too, begin in silence, and we return to it. We inhale the air that once moved through ancient stars. We exhale it back into the same vastness that shaped us. Our lives are tiny ripples in the same ocean that will one day still again. The silence that awaits the universe is the same that surrounds us every moment. A quiet eternity, gently holding everything that ever was, if we listen deeply enough. Beyond thought, beyond the noise of our own existence, we can feel it. That cosmic stillness humming beneath all sound. It is the same silence that existed before the first atom, the same silence that will remain after the last photon fades. It is the infinite space between beginnings and endings, the breath between creation and return. It is not something to escape, but something to come home to. In that silence, there are no borders, no time, no separation. Everything that once was, every galaxy, every star, every living being, becomes one continuous presence. It is the moment when the universe stops expanding outward and instead expands inward, into itself, until there is no longer an inside or outside. All becomes one, a single, eternal awareness, and in that unity something stirs again. A memory, perhaps, or a dream. The faint echo of the first breath, the spark that once ignited creation. It is not light, not motion, not even sound, but the pure potential for all of them. The silence is not the opposite of the universe. The silence is the universe, its truest, most complete form. When all things end and time exhales its final second, what remains is not despair, but understanding. The silence that fills the void is not empty. It is full of every story ever told, every star ever born, every life that ever looked up and wondered why. The universe at last knows itself completely, And in that moment, when silence becomes everything, the cosmos finally finds what it was searching for all along. Peace. Not the peace of absence, but the peace of completion. The kind that exists when nothing more needs to be said, when every note of the symphony has been played. The silence remains. The silence breathes. The silence is. And somewhere within it, the universe dreams once more. Quietly, endlessly, beautifully, of beginning again.